Hey guys, Paul here, and welcome to another episode of In Your Mind. Today we have a very special guest for you. His name is Alec Stern. He is a globally renowned entrepreneur, speaker, mentor, and investor. He is a co-founder or founding member of 8 startups. He's had 5 exits, 2 IPOs, 3 acquisitions, and the big one, he was a founding member of Constant Contact. So they're from idea and addict to startup to IPO to a $1.1 billion acquisition. There's so much Alex shares today, and I cannot wait for you guys to hear it. So check it out. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of In Your Mind. Today we have an amazing guest. Honestly, so excited for him to be here. He was a co-founder of Constant Contact. He's a globally renowned speaker, mentor. Just honestly, it goes on and on. It's awesome. So here is Alec Stern. Alec, thank you so much for being here.
Paul, thank you. I really appreciate it. I look forward to chatting with you.
Yeah, so I guess we're just going to kick it off, and I start everyone with the same question, and it's always a fun one. We start at the beginning, really, right? So tell us a little bit about Alec growing up.
Sure. Yeah, so, so my mom was from Boston. My dad was from New York, and we were living in Connecticut, but my mom's network was in Boston. So when she had me and my sister separately, she trucked up to Boston. So I was born in Boston. I lived here, I think, maybe 5 days, and then down to Connecticut for where our home was. So I was there until I was a teenager, and 13 or so, and then moved to New Jersey. And from Jersey, I went on to Syracuse for college. And since I was 8, I always said I wanted to move to Boston. So because we had relatives up here, we'd visit summers and stuff. Had a blast every time I came up. So after college, I came here. But in my upbringing, we lived in we were provided for and lived in a good home. Didn't have the best kind of relationship with my dad. He was pretty focused on himself and business and some other things. So I sort of always found myself teaming up with my mom, and she ended up raising us, but also started a small business. And
oh, wow.
I got a taste of entrepreneurism, I guess. From starting something, navigating kind of what to build it into, buying out a partner, kind of the list went on for a variety of things that I got to experience.
How old were you when she started that business?
So I was in, I think I was in maybe junior high, or kind of going right into high school. This is when I remember back to, her, she was very creative. She used to read the encyclopedia for fun when she didn't have a book to read. So just to put it in perspective. And she's the one that could sit in front of the TV and watch Jeopardy and answer every question. Wow. It's like, Mom, how do you know that? I read about it, And so, she created a business where she would. It was like a promotional thing. So if people were having events, like a wedding, and they want special things on the table or things for all the guests to take home. And she started doing some corporate events, working with some large, sort of high-end membership groups, and doing some creative things. And she could take, someone could just tell you 5 things about somebody, and she could write a poem for a kid's birthday. Or,
oh my gosh.
So she was really creative. She had the best handwriting, so almost like calligraphy handwriting. So I just watched her kind of, just be really creative and just finding solutions and new ideas to market to folks, daily. So,
and she started that by herself?
Yeah, she had a partner at first, and they kind of weren't agreeing on the direction at one point, and so my mom bought her out, and she continued it on her own.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was really cool.
So, okay, so I think that gives us a good idea of where that mind came from. It's your mom. And so from, I guess you were saying, started in Boston, then to New Jersey, and then ended up back in Boston
Yeah, after college. Yeah.
after college. Okay. And what was college like for you? Was it a smooth ride, easy?
Yeah. So, I was that student that would take the plastic off the book the week of the exam
Okay. Yeah.
and pull all nighters reading it and catching up. I did go to class. I wasn't borrowing notes from others. I did at least participate and go to class, but
Better than I did.
I was a procrastinator, last minute guy to do the projects or the papers or study. But I enjoyed college. I mean, I was got very active real early on a lot of fronts, and was president of the American Marketing Association and part of a fraternity that was a top 10 fraternity in the country, and so we were like just everything. We had to check every box, so we were constantly volunteering. We were doing all kinds of stuff, and at first I did a lot of that growing up, so it was natural to me, and I thought no big deal. But others were sort of like, why are we doing all this? But I enjoyed it and got involved in like Division for Youth and working with kids that were kind of younger kids and bringing them on campus and having take them to classes and have the sort of the fraternity and the class and the social experience for like a day, and then we stayed with them from junior high all the way up till and worked with them with their resumes and help them go on to go to college. And so I was just doing a lot of things kind of which instilled in me very early from again from my mom to give back and help others in need. So I did a lot of that in college, which just I think it was amped more so in college than growing up, and kind of continue with that after college as well.
And what were you studying?
So I was in business school, the business school, and I was studying marketing and just general business and marketing undergrad. I ended up getting my master's years later in finance and marketing. So.
Oh, great. And so after college, where'd you go from there?
Yeah, so I came to Boston. I had my dad was the guy that would tell you, you got to go work for the big company. Yeah, so I had an offer from a large company, IBM, and an offer from a really small company, not as well known, but a big company called Prime Computer back in the day, and so I did a case study in school on Prime, and that's why I was it piqued my interest to look at them, and longer story for it, but kind of was the first person that hire right out of college in a sales position, sales and business development, and I ended up helping craft a program that became a recent college grad program. But I convinced them that they should start a program and it should be me. I loved the company from studying it in school and in a couple of one class in particular we had a couple of classes where we focused on Prime Computer, and I really liked it. So of course here I'm sitting there trying to get a job with them, and I ended up getting an offer, and my dad, and it paid more than big company. I shouldn't have named the big company, but the bottom line was I ended up going with the unknown, going to Boston against sort of his will, like you're gonna be calling us soon with no job and yada yada yada. So I went against the grain.
Yeah, I love that. So I mean, I love hearing sort of like this little journey that you're going to with that, and I think I know the answer just because it's where you started, but your mind obviously is elevated. I mean, it just is. Like, you really grasp a lot of different things and in a really smart and strategic way, and it sounds like that's obviously your mom, right? Like, your mom had that mindset.
Yeah. So my dad as well. I mean, my dad.
Oh, good. Yeah.
He was in textiles and design, and was involved in many patents. And he's a really smart guy, but I saw how hard he worked, and it was almost sort of at the cost of spending time with family. That I thought, when I was going to college, I'm like, I don't want to go into business because I'm seeing how hard he's working. So when I went to Syracuse, my major was sociology. Because I'm like, I'm not going into business. And then after a semester of that, I'm like, no, I think I maybe should move over to the business. So, which I ended up doing, but I was really kind of against it just from growing up. And so I'd say I learned a lot from my dad, both what I would do in life and what I also wouldn't do, and work hard, play hard, and have a balance and be there for family and friends. And I didn't really get that from him. My mom was more of the nurturer, and she tried to wear both hats at times, which is, again, another sort of stress point, because it's like, Mom, you're not my dad, like,
Yeah.
And they ultimately, they ended up divorcing. And so, coming up to Boston was my chance. I just wanted to get away. I wanted to come here because it always had a, warm spot in the heart from growing up, coming to visit cousins and, my mom and family up here. She'd bring us up here a lot, on summers and stuff. And so I was driven to want to go there from age 8 and found the right opportunity for me at the time and made something of it. So,
And did you have siblings?
I have one older sister. She's 17 months older. We were close, but I was more of an annoyance of a younger brother than because I constantly had a creative mind and creating new games and stuff and wanted her to participate, which at her duress, I made her.
And so from that initial job, were you always interested in computer, like that tech world? Was it exciting?
Yeah, I was more interested in the company. And one thing my dad did teach me, he said, I was going to go into marketing. And he said, if you want to go into marketing, you have to really know the customer. And if you got to really know the customer, you need to go in sales and business development first. Get close to the customer, and then you can focus on telling the marketing story. So he did give me a couple of good points of advice along the way. But so coming out of college with a marketing degree, and I ended up going into sales and business development for a very large company. And again, being the first one they hired out of college, I didn't go right into a sales role. I went into the education and training group to actually look at all of their training to say did what applies, what made sense, what didn't. So they crafted a kind of a recent college grad program, and then they were hiring 40 to 60 a year after I went through this. And when I finished kind of going through the first cycle with the first class, then I went out and went into the field, if you will, into a Boston sales office. So I knew I wanted to go into sales. I was enamored with the technology. I wasn't technical, but which you could sort of learn become buzzword compliant and learn.
Right.
But I knew it enough to be able to sort of sell it, and then had systems engineers and other folks to back me up when it got real technical. So.
And you always had that. I always say it's like there's this sales personality, right? Like you like to talk. You can talk to anybody. You have to have that innate in you, and that sounds like you've always had it, yeah.
Yeah. So then that again was from instilled from my mom. She was the life of the party, and we would have company when we were kids, and we'd have to dress up, and we would sit formally in the living room and ask questions of the adults. At age 8, so how was your day, and and what's new in your life, and 8, 9, 10 years old, we were kind of put in those situations, and and then when I would go out with my mom, at events she was hosting, and put on she'd wake me early on a Saturday and put a white shirt on and a bow tie to go work some event, and I'm like, again. And so I just was constantly put into social situations, and I guess I get participating with old folks that were older than me. So when I got out of college and went into a sort of sales and business development role, the people I was calling on were much older, and so I had to act more mature than age. And oftentimes they're like, "How old are you anyway?"
Yeah, right.
Not telling. I was in my early 20s. Eventually we'd build a relationship, and I would share my age, and they were like, "There's no way you're that young."
Yeah, right.
I just learned, kind of it's the skill set to communicate and be able to talk to my elders, if you will.
So when, I guess from that time to, I'm assuming Constant Contact, that big break, right? That big one that started it. How long was that between?
Yeah, so I'd say there's a little bit more to the story in that. Right. So I've been involved with eight companies where I'm either on the founding team or a co-founder, and had 5 exits, 2 IPOs and 3 acquisitions. And Constant Contact is the most notable by name. But
Okay.
prior to that, I had a few others, and
Oh,
after it
great.
as well. But before that, when I was working at Prime, I was selling systems to a bunch of different verticals, and somebody many layers above at Prime was going over to a startup, and so and some others from Prime had started a company. I think I was employed 15 or 20. I forget the number, but so he asked me if I'd come over and join. I did initially, but I did ultimately join, and so we had vesting schedule of our options for 5 years, and literally about 5 years after joining, we went public, and I was like,
Wow.
this piece of paper is worth what? I got the concept, but I didn't really quite really grasp kind of what it might mean. And I'm like, wow, how do I do this again? And I mean, it afforded me an opportunity to buy, a house in downtown Boston, and brownstone, and I was able to, take some time off, and I was like, okay, and it was hard work, obviously, and all that. But then I said, how do I do this again? So I was seeking out other opportunities, and was jumping into things earlier and earlier. So I was with the initial founding team of 8, where we were doing some payment systems, and we were acquired, about 9 months into it, because they wanted the technology and the IP that we had, and they wanted the team, but they didn't want me. They didn't need anyone on the sales side, because they had a whole engine to put this through once we finished the product. So I was paid off and sent on my way. And I'm like, well, that was easy. I had a few things, prior, and then after taking a break from something prior, I was going to take a year off, and then 6 months into it, got the itch again, and that's when I was introduced to, our original founder of Constant Contact had a technology, and a mutual friend that was an entrepreneur introduced us. And so he said, Alec can help you on the go-to-market and all the sort of front-facing things. And we connected on many levels, and we basically said, let's do it. And so we had a third person in the mix. She was so it was Randy, Margaret, and myself were the 3 in the attic. She was software architect. Randy was an amazing technical wizard, but also understood business and could carry conversations on business or technical, and really bright. And so we totally meeting of the minds, and we wanted to move on the front end of helping small businesses with marketing, because Amazon and others were just spinning up. They had enterprise tools, they had agencies, they had resources, but Main Street small business had nothing. And so we wanted to level the playing field for small businesses against those big competitors with a self-service, easy to use tool. And that was kind of the original premise. And as it was, we brought out email marketing as our first product, and it's still the anchor product for the company. We did sell. We went public and then we sold, but so I'm not involved anymore. But it was the anchor product then, and still is. But we've now there's a digital marketing suite that we developed over time. Yeah,
it's amazing. I think what I'm curious, and I'm sure everyone is curious, because they're curious, though I promise, for a different reason than I am. I guess, where do you learn that mindset? It has to be a mindset of seeing an opportunity, right? And being able to pursue it. It's not even just, how do you tell what an opportunity is? It's more just how do you say okay, I can think of this, I see it, but now how do I get to it?
Okay.
Because that takes a lot.
So there's two things I'd say about that. The first thing is that, I always ask everyone, if I'm speaking at an audience, to an audience, I'll say, show of hands, how many of you think you're an innovator? And 5% of the hands go up. I'm like, how many people on any given day, week, or month see a product or service and God, that could be done better? If the service did it this way, or if the product added this feature, or if it was shaped this way instead, or how many of you have those ideas? And every hand goes up. And so the difference between someone with an idea and someone who's an innovator, if you take the idea and you bring that forward, you tell someone else, you ask someone to work on it, you go to a friend, can use a 3D printer and make you a prototype, and then you take that and you bring it to who you think would want it, and ask them, what do you think, and get their feedback, and then now you're an innovator, because you've done something, taken that idea forward. So I'm an idea guy. Every day I see something that, wow, this pen could actually be better if it did X instead.
Yeah.
I'm always thinking that way, but in some cases bigger, right? And so,
Yeah.
having worked with small businesses, in the case of Constant Contact, on the back end, payment systems and brochureware, which became sort of websites, which to e-commerce, to then now doing something on the front end. I had a passion for working with small businesses, and which is the fueling our economy, and wanted to do something else sort of on that front end. And so I would say you have an idea, you start to noodle on it. You have to really nail down kind of who is your target market. And when people say, like, I'm going to sell to small business, if you ask 10 people in a room to define small business, you're going to get totally different answers.
Yeah.
Size, number of customers, revenue, number of employees, however you want to measure it. And so when you get real granular down to who that target market is, then don't be in stealth mode. Everyone who's in stealth mode is missing the opportunity. But take whatever you have, even if it's not complete, or a prototype. And today you can simulate apps on a prototype app as if it's an actual mobile application, and bring it out and show it to somebody. But before you do that, ask them, what are your goals and objectives? What's your vision? What are you missing in your business today, or what do you want more of? And they're going to lay out the cards. When we would do that, I would go to the small businesses and ask them. They'd say, well, I want to stay top of mind, or I want to drive people back. I want my customers to come in and spend more money. I want them to tell others, and said, okay, if we can provide something that can do these things for you, would that be something you'd be interested in? Like, yeah, bring it all day. So we actually took even the earliest ideas to our target market and got feedback. So you can have a vision and you can have an idea, and you may have been a small business before, but that's not good enough for you to then say, okay, now I'm ready to start building this and get it out there. Bring that idea forward, because it changes every day, and what they actually need and want will change. And so if you bring that to them and you get their feedback, when we saw they could get wide-eyed with what we're going to do, and we weren't done, we didn't have a finished product, we had to still work on it. When they were getting wide-eyed on how we could help them, and then we started getting in the hands of some of the initial kind of 4 customers I got that were, I would say, again, don't go to people people you like, people you're related to, people you've done business with. Go to total strangers, and if you can convince them to take something, then you're onto it, right? So I went and got 4 customers, and they gave us brutal, honest feedback along the way. But we saw how wide-eyed they could get early on, and that's how you're onto something. Like if you have your target market telling you this, and that's what's going to drive you, and it drove us. Because if I listened to all the no's we got, from like, oh, no one's selling a small business, no one's going to use email as a marketing tool, they already have an inbox. The only companies that could sell door to door to small businesses are companies like ADP and Intuit. You're never going to be able to grow large enough to do this, that, and the other. Sun's in your eyes. Like, I heard everything you can imagine with no's, and to me, a no means not now. Like, I'd never take a no. When I was a kid and I wanted ice cream, my mother said no. I did whatever I had to do to please her, and to do chores and do whatever. For when I say, can I have ice cream? She's like, of course you can. So I took that into business later, and I never hear no's. I don't get deflated with it. It's just we weren't meant to be to work together, kind of at that moment. But we'll come back around. Yeah. If you stay in touch and you work it, you'll come back around. So I think you can easily take something to market. If you've gotten your target market's kind of initial feedback, and they were willing to stay with you as you develop it.
You said something which I want to ask and sort of dive into. You can take the no, which I think is amazing, but you said you never get deflated. How?
Yeah, so I'm just, I guess a couple of things about me personally. One is I find humor in everything. Okay. And so there's not a moment that I don't find laughter in the worst of worst scenarios, sometimes to a little bit of a fault, when someone's like, how could you be laughing right now? I'm going to find a way, because it just, I go to that because, the endorphins come, and I just don't let it get to me. And believe me, I've had a lot of my life to weigh me down, and to knock me out of a race and everything. But the bottom line is, I think if I'm not accepting sort of no, so I never got deflated with hearing the no, because because I was able to keep those relationships going and bring them back around to when it was right for both. Like if you're bringing something to somebody, they may not be in the receiving mode to want to take it or agree with you or want to do it. Like if you go to someone who just finished dinner and said, "You want to go to dinner?" They're going to be like, "No, I just ate." Like, there's timing, there's, a lot of things that come into play. But when you have a conversation, like I'm always asking, is it a good time? I want to run something by you. Do you have 15 minutes? If not good now, can you, let me know when I can call you back? Or like, no, I have the time, because you want to make sure that they're present. Like, and so for me, I always set the situations up to make sure that it was going to be well received, and that it, maybe a timing issue or other things like, okay, I got it. You just had dinner. How about I come to you tomorrow at 5 and we'll talk about dinner then. And so it's making sure there's alignment. So I didn't get deflated because if somebody doesn't want to work with me today and with the product or service that I'm presenting, then there's other reasons. And I have to go back and look at myself and say, did I miss this? Did I think they were a good fit for it? Did I maybe not spend enough time to research to see if they were or not? And a lot of conversations, there's a miscue because we sit there and just think, well, everyone's a prospect to hear my idea. Everyone's, anyone's who an investor is going to invest in my idea. It doesn't work that way. You got to spend some time and be smart about it, and find smart money with someone who invests in things like what you're doing, or a customer who's going to buy things like like you're doing. Someone who says, I have a great offering for small businesses, and you ask them, well, how much does it cost? They're like $100,000 a year. Like, well, no small business is going to pay that unless it's going to give them, tenfold return. So you have to kind of look at that. You have to, kind of look at all those factors. And so I set it up so I don't get deflated, because maybe I've missed something going into it.
Yeah, I have 2 questions that I have thought before, because I was like, I can't leave without asking these.
All right.
You've had so many things, and I mean, I got to read a little bit too, even the stuff I've never heard of. Like, I want to know, you hit these companies. Everyone always talks about their big why, right? And you've hit so many levels. Has your big why changed continuously? Has it stayed the same?
So if it's business related, my why is related to the target market. Anytime I bring something to market, is this like answering the why? And by the way, I'm a huge fan of Simon Sinek and Start With Why, his book, and see so many failures in businesses that want to tell you the speeds and the feeds and the how and the what. And the why is so key. If you can nail the why, and it's not always the first one to market, but it's someone who actually positions that correctly. So my big why is centered around really understanding kind of what are we working on and bringing it to that target market. Are we really solving a problem? Are we saving them time? Are we saving them money, or are we making them more money? Yeah. And so the why may vary, like kind of big why may vary. And even being in working with small businesses, with several different companies doing several different things, you have to sort of adjust based on feedback.
And what about personally?
There are a lot of things. I mean, I just kind of a challenging upbringing a bit. Again, provided for, but just had some challenges with my dad, and he was sort of checked out a bit, and for a lot of reasons. But my first initial challenge was I wanted to be more successful than him my first year out of college, and I wanted to be able to have a balance in life, to do what I want personally and what I was doing in business. And so it was just a personal goal of mine. And so I was driven to prove to myself that I could be the things, in life on sort of both sides. So I overcompensated maybe to a fault, with working a little bit harder, and I had to kind of lean into learning kind of what to do on the personal side to not either over or under invest in situations. So I learned the hard way. My personal why is it's out there. It's still out there in front of me. I set it bigger and a wider opening of the why to just keep seeking it. So
I love that. Well, my last question, because time, I know, is if you could talk to your younger self, whether that is college self or 6-year-old self, what
Sure.
would you want to tell them?
Well, there's a couple things, but the main one is we always have obstacles. We always have things weighing on us, and I carried stuff a little bit too long on a lot of fronts than I should have, and so I've learned, especially in the business, that you know. You have something and you go to bed thinking about it, you wake up thinking about it, you go into your office, you write it on the first line of a piece of paper, you put a little empty box next to it, and you hope you check it to knock down that obstacle.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't work that way. You have to go seek out those that had the obstacle before, who successfully knocked it down, who failed at knocking it down. How do you break it down into smaller things to chip away at it? And you've got to create a muscle memory dealing with those things. And then when you do, just guaranteed, when you knock one down, the one behind it's bigger. And in life, the next one's bigger, and the next one's bigger. So I wish I just knew earlier on how to sort of navigate that and not let these things weigh on me. And this is in today's day and age.
Yeah.
Focus on your sphere of influence of the people that are in your world today that can help make a difference with you, or that you want to seek out to pull into your world, and stop worrying about the concern of, we were sheltering at home yesterday, we're doing it today, and guess what we're doing tomorrow? We're sheltering at home again. Got it. Okay, now I got to stop dwelling on it. And what am I missing? And just focus on things that I can move forward with. Because I would have told myself, don't let these obstacles weigh on you, and carry them with you. Get rid of them.
That's great. I mean, it's amazing. I literally could think of probably like 100 more questions, but I'm not going to.
I have all day, so I'm just sheltering at home.
Yeah. This was awesome. I mean, like, hearing your journey, it's so inspirational. I think even just getting a little bit of that insight, and I love the story of your mom, and just learning, even your dad, like all those little pieces that you can take from your history, right? And your memories, and really use them to be the person you are today. It was amazing. Thank you so much for being here today.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And if people do, I don't want to forget this, if they want to get in touch or want to follow you, where should they do that?
Yeah, so the best thing is I've got a website. It's alecspeaks.com. So ALEC speaks, SPEAKS.com, alecspeaks.com. You can go there and learn a little bit more. There's a fun little kind of walk-on video, and all my social links are there. Which you can then find me on LinkedIn and other social channels. So.
Awesome. We'll make sure to tag that in the video when it's posted. Again, thank you so much, Alec. Everybody will follow you. I'm sure you're going to be bombarded. But you have a great rest of the day. Stay safe, stay calm and relaxed as you are. And we cannot wait to see you next time.
Sounds great. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Hey guys, thanks for checking out another episode of In Your Mind. I hope you were as blown away by Alec as I was. He just knows so much. I mean, it's unbelievable. So thank you so much, Alec, for being here. And you guys, remember, please share, like, comment, rate, everything you can to help us get the word out about this show. It's because of you that we can make this. So tune in next week. I promise you do not want to miss what the episode is going to be like. So we'll see you then. Bye.